Howdy everyone, this is Vincent from Seven Shields Forge. This is going to be a big year for us, and we are excited to bring you along on our shop and homestead projects here on YouTube. We finally have a physical shop, open on weekdays here in Virginia. The address is up on the screen, as well as the link to our other media, so check us out and enjoy the video. So the project we're working on today is a single piece blacksmith style belt knife that we're going to forge from a starting stock, which is a 1/4 by 1.25 inch piece of 5160 spring steel. Now the first step to get started here is to draw this out to the stock size that we want to start with, which in our case is going to be about 1/4 inch thick by 1 inch wide. So let's get started hammering that out. So for drawing this piece out, what I'm going to use is my heavy 4-pound rounding hammer along with the horn of my anvil. What this does is it gives me two pretty aggressively rounded surfaces that's really going to pull that metal as I work it. So now that we have our metal drawn out to roughly the dimensions we want to start with, we're going to go ahead and start profiling the tip of the knife. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to cut off in the opposite direction part of the tip of this blank. And then what we're going to do is we're going to forge this end back up to create the curve of our blade. So now that we have our blade mostly forged out to the profile we're after, we're going to go ahead and start forging our initial bevels. All right. So to start our bevel, what we're going to do, we're going to size right here, and we're actually going to start right at the plunge line, which we're going to help with using the corner of the anvil to set. You're going to focus only on striking right here at the corner of the anvil while holding your stock at an angle. What this does, as you can see, we've gone ahead, we've set a pretty nice plunge groove right there. Next is we're going to work at drawing that bevel out the rest of the way. Now before we forge in our initial bevel, I'm bending the blade down a little on the horn of the anvil. This is because as I forge in the bevel, the cutting edge is going to stretch and curve the blade back up and straight. So now that we have our blade roughly forged and beveled to the shape we're after, it's time to address the plunge groove on the other side of the knife. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to hold right over top of the plunge groove that we set on the cord of the anvil, and we're going to lightly tap along the bottom. And what that does is it pushes over that thin little slice of metal and sets your plunge groove on both sides of the knife. So here I'm flaring the end of our handle material to look a little like a ginkgo leaf and drawing it out to be about 9 inches to the start of the blade. So now that we have our handle profiled initially, what we're going to do next is we're actually going to go ahead and stamp the touch mark into the blade before we go ahead and start shaping the curl of the handle. This way, it gives us a little bit more room to work with so we don't have to worry about accidentally deforming the handle once we roll the edges up. Okay. So while we're here, I'm actually going to seat that one more time. Just to get us a little bit deeper in the front. That's better. Put that someplace I'll remember. Through and re-straighten our blade. I can live with that. All right. What we're using for this step is a half circle Hardy tool. What we're going to do is we're going to come in with our cross peen. We're going to gently begin rolling our handle. Now it helps to take your time with this step because it's really easy to get off to one side and then your roll starts to become a little bit uneven. See, just like that right there, our eye is starting to roll a little bit. That's all right, with a quick heat we can fix that at the vise. Much better. All right. Next, we're going to go ahead and start rolling the handle into its final position. All right. Well, I think that about concludes the initial forging. So next is we're going to let this blade cool off a little bit, and then we're going to go ahead to the belt sander and do the final blade grinding and profiling. And then after that, it's on to heat treat. So now we're ready for heat treating. So what we're going to do here, as it is a fairly cold day in the shop, what I'm going to do is we're going to heat up our quenching oil, which we're just using used motor oil. We are going to go ahead and heat that up a little bit with a piece of hot iron, just to help make this a little bit less viscous. And that'll help ensure a more complete quench. Now we can start heating our rough ground knife blade, and then we're going to let it normalize twice before actually quenching it into our oil. So that's how we forge our one-piece belt knives. Here I'm just applying a light coat of linseed oil to the steel to help protect it from moisture and from rust and to help give it a little bit more longevity. If you'd like to see more projects like this or even have some suggestions of your own, check out our link tree and we'd be happy to hear from you. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next project.